Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back. The Angels appear to be making some moves. Big MLB trade rumors going on right now thanks to MLBtraderumors.com. They just reported, not even about 15 minutes ago, that Elvis Andrus, Michael Wacha, Gary Sanchez, Andrew Chafin, and Zach Britton have all been in touch with the Angels. Interesting, right? This was reported, of course, by MLBtraderumors.com as well as John Heyman with the New York Post. So, right away, I'm going to ask you guys the question. Is this enough for the Angels? If the Angels go get any one of these five guys, is it enough to compete in the AL West? I'm going to go off the bat and say no. And, of course, that's what this video is going to be talking about. I think the Angels definitely need to make some more moves. The only moves that they have made this year have been, there's been like 5 of them. I'll go through them here in a second. But they've made some moves, but none of them are that top tier player. I wouldn't even say they're like that supporting player that I've talked about a few times. But ladies and gentlemen, I would love to know your thoughts on these. That's why I make these videos. But if you are new here, we are so close to 4,000 subscribers. You guys could do it on this video. So if you do enjoy it, please hit that like button and subscribe. So the Angels have made a few moves this year. Brandon Drury, the left-handed pitcher Tyler Anderson, right-handed pitcher Carlos Estevez. I honestly don't know how to say that guy's name, so I'm sorry if I butchered that. Brett Phillips, of course, the best two-way player in baseball. Gio Urshela and Hunter Renfroe. So quite a few moves. None of them, again, are top-of-the-line needle pushers that I would say impact the team greatly in terms of playoffs. Of course, they have the best 2 players in the league, but have failed to make the playoffs almost every single year. It is really sad, really unfortunate. So, like I said, these are the moves that they are trying to make, possibly making. And again, are they needle pushers here? So, let's start. I'm going to quickly run through these guys since there are 5 of them. But let's start with Elvis Andrus. We haven't really talked about him a ton in this kind of trade rumor series. This is probably one of the best players still available at this point in the offseason. We've talked about a few guys, but Elvis Andrus has really stood out, I think, as one of these guys that could be targeted because he had 3 WAR last year, right? 3 WAR, 17 home runs, 58 RBI, an OPS plus of 103, 18 stolen bases. Played in almost every game with the Oakland A's and the White Sox, split between the two. He is 33, right? He is getting up there. And his 2022 or 2023 expected numbers, again, pretty much put him around that same kind of player, right? 11 home runs, 47 RBI, couple stolen bases, right? He's fine, right? He's okay. But I think he brings that veteran leadership to a team that could use some help. The Angels probably fit that like perfectly because they have Trout, they have Ohtani, these really star-studded great players. Trout's 30 years old now. He could use another veteran kind of guy. I think Andrus could be that player, especially since, honestly, I don't know who the shortstop is for the Angels right now. Let's Google that quick. But you're always in need of another player, I think, of that quality, right? It looks like their infielders, Drury, I guess, maybe, could play over there, because Urshela is also at third base. Rengifo, Rendon, Fletcher. You got a bunch of guys. Maybe about the same quality as Andrus. So, like I said, you get another guy who's about that statue, it makes a lot of sense. And especially with the Rangers, what they've done in the offseason, the Mariners are, of course, going to be good. The Angels have a lot to gain. If they can go out and get a guy like this, it could be very beneficial. The next guy on the list is Gary Sanchez. So we talked about this in a previous video. The Royals were in on him. I believe, gosh, I don't even remember who was all in that video. I don't think the Angels were one of them. And maybe they were. Actually, they might have been. Yes, they were, because Logan O'Hoppe was the guy in there. So it looks like they are still in talks with the Angels, and I think the Giants were maybe the third. It depends what they want to do here with Gary Sanchez. Again, I don't think he's a starter on a team like the Angels, especially with Logan being the number 1 prospect, if I can remember correctly, for the Angels. You also have Max Stassi. It looks like they don't need another catcher, but they are in talks with Gary Sanchez. Again, we can go over his numbers really quick. A little bit above a WAR. Had 1 WAR last year. Had 2 stolen bases. 205 batting average is really what got him. 16 home runs, 61 RBIs. A little bit below average hitting. But again, I don't think he necessarily fits on the Angels. But hey, they're still in talks with him. Maybe that means they can trade Logan, right? And get a good player in return, as a prospect deal, right? They need more talent to get Trout to the playoffs. By trading your number 1 prospect, it might be a good idea if you want to bring in talent now, right? Maybe a post or a deadline decision, right? Continuing on, you've got 3 pitchers who honestly could make sense going to the Angels because they need help. Michael Wacha is the biggest one of the 3, and he had a really good 2022 with 3.3 WAR, 11-2 on the year with a 3.3 ERA, started 23 games, threw over 127 innings, also had 104 strikeouts. That's a solid year. I mean, for most guys, right? He even had a shutout, a complete game shutout on the year. That's pretty good. And he's only 30, right? He is just on the other side of the prime. He wants a 2-year deal. The Angels do not have a ton of good starting pitchers, right? That's why last year, Ohtani was their only guy. And when they won games, it was because Ohtani was on the mound, right? I mean, they have Tyler Anderson, who they just traded for. They got a couple of other names that we mentioned in this video. But nobody sticks out. Absolutely nobody sticks out besides Shohei Ohtani. So you could argue with me in the comments like, oh, Andrew Loop or whatever, blah, 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 blah. There might be a guy in there that you don't know. What it doesn't. None of these guys are, I don't want to say all-stars, but none of these guys are superstars, right? So Michael Wacha being the number 2 on the Angels, I mean, that's not good, but it helps, right? And I think that is the kind of guy that the Angels desperately need. Otherwise, they will not be competitive again. You are relying so much on Ohtani, on Trout to carry the load of everything, right? Pitching and hitting, basically relying on 2, 3, 4 different players. You need more solid core guys. And for 2 years, Wacha could be that guy. He got a resurgence last year. He looks like he could have another couple of good years. Andrew Chafin, another guy that we've talked about several times. This guy is in the bullpen, of course, but a little bit over a .3 WAR, 2.3 on the year, 2.83 ERA, and that's the big thing we need to look at. Coming out of the bullpen, yeah, he's going to save a few games. Yeah, he's going to lose a few games, but throwing 64 games is pretty good, where he doesn't give up a ton of runs. His ERA has been right around that 3 range for most of his career. Had a bad year in 2020, had a bad year in 2016. Otherwise, he has been pretty solid. He's bounced around a lot. I'm not saying it's not impossible, but I don't know if the Angels necessarily, I mean, I wouldn't say they would not need him. Again, everybody can use another left-handed reliever, but they have a ton of relievers. They do have a ton of lefties on their team already. I don't know if it makes sense for a guy like Andrew Chafin to go to the Angels. I know he's got so much around him already, so that's where I think he would end up is not on the Angels. But again, things have shocked me before. The last guy, and I think the most surprising, is Zach Britton, who pitched, 3 games in 2022? He's pitched 45 games since 2020, and in 2019, he came in 66. That is a huge drop-off, right? This guy is nowhere near what he used to be, right? And it's all because they left him in the pen back in 2016, I think, when he was the All-Star MVP voting candidate. This guy is a wild card, and I don't think that he will. I mean, he's going to sign with a team. I'm pretty sure he'll sign somewhere, but was, a -1 WAR player in three games, had 1 strikeout in 0.2 innings, a 10.5 whip, a 13.5 ERA. Obviously, those numbers are very much inflated because he only pitched in 3 games. This guy is nowhere close to where he used to be. but I think he will sign with somewhere. Again, he's a lefty. I don't think the Angels really need that, but he'll sign with somewhere. Give him a chance. He might throw 5 games or whatever, again, and guess kind of move on, but we'll see. So here's the recap. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go down the list one more time. Elvis Andrus, I think, could be a really, really good move for the Angels. I do think that they need to go after him. That is a guy who they could desperately use. And likewise with Michael Wacha. I don't think that they will get him. Again, he has been sought out by other teams. I think Andrus actually has a pretty decent chance to go to the Angels if they are actually pursuing him. But there are a ton of other teams with Wacha. I think the Angels should be in on him. It depends what they want to do with their catching situation. But it doesn't seem likely that Chafin, Britton, or Gary Sanchez, as I was talking about catching, will go there. But, of course, that's why I turn it over to you. Do you think any of these moves would actually make an impact on the Angels? Is it the right time to do this? What would you be willing to give up if they want to sign some of these guys, trade their guys that they already have, or use these in a trade deal in the future? Let me know. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you do enjoy. We'll see you next time. Bye.